and commission the hospital, the St. Lucia Labour Party government is now scrambling to save face with more hogwash and blatant lies, as is always done on every national issue that this government has to deal with. You know, after Alva Baptiste's famous quote, that is, all St. Jude's needed was a coat of paint and some chemical, and for those of you who are probably not familiar, chemical is a brand of bleach. You know, that was all that was needed to complete the St. Jude Hospital. Famous words by Alva Baptiste. You know, since then, he has made other comments on the issue of the hospital. But we're going to start tonight's SLP segment with a clip by Alva Baptiste, and let us hear what he has to say as he pontificates on the subject of St. Jude's Hospital.
Speaker, I end on that note. How long will those people stay? Almost 4 years since you took office. People have died due to inadequate facilities and equipment at the Stadium Hospital, and your failure to commit and complete uncommissioned St. Jude's Hospital. Countless families can relate to incidents of losing loved ones prematurely because scans and other diagnostic equipment were not available to facilitate timely diagnosis and treatment. It is now almost 4 years since you took office. People have died due to inadequate facilities and equipment at the Stadium Hospital, and your failure to commit and complete uncommissioned St. Jude's Hospital. Countless families can relate to incidents of losing loved ones prematurely because scans and other diagnostic equipment were not available to facilitate timely diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, people have died, but you know, you allow so many more years, and I ask you the question, how many more people did you all allow to die when you all could have had that hospital completed, according to you all, in the space of a year? But you know, that is the style of the SLP. When in opposition, just make statements, arbitrary statements, you know, with no basis, unsubstantiated statements, just, you know, doesn't matter what false impressions they create, as long as it's going to benefit the SLP politically. But Alva is not alone. Philip Pierre, not to be outdone, also had his say on the issue of St. Jude. Let's listen to his words, ladies and gentlemen, in clip number 2.
That I went myself to see for myself. I'm not an engineer, I don't profess to be an engineer, but there is nothing that says that these buildings could not have been completed 4 years ago. There is absolutely nothing that says it's a callous act for people to have left people in the conditions of the stadium just because you want to prove a point. But we're not proving any point. The only point we're proving is we are trying to improve the health care for the people of the South and giving them better conditions to be sure. That's the only point we have to do.
Yes, it could have been completed 4 years ago. At the time he was speaking, that was the 2nd of November 2022. It meant that he feels that the stadium could have been completed by 2018. That would have been about 2 years into the administration of the Alan Chastanet regime. So, it is a callous act to have left people in the stadium to prove a point, and that's what he said. So I'm wondering if he now, having been in office for over 4 years, when he's saying the previous administration could have completed the hospital in 2 years, he has been in office for over 4 years. How callous was it for you to have left the people in that stadium under those conditions just to prove a point? And the point you wanted to prove is that the state-of-the-art, built-for-purpose modern hospital that Chastanet began, you would not continue it because it was started by Alan Chastanet. So, you failed to prove your point because your term has come to an end and you have not been able to complete and commission St. Jude Hospital. A gross, colossal failure, because the building you are talking about is a building that has been worked on for about 11 years. 11 years. And you, because it's about 16 years now since the institution got burned down. Okay, Alan Chasney spent 5 years to build the new hospital, what was supposed to be the new hospital. And Stephenson King worked for 2 years on the old building. Dr. Kenny Anthony came in, worked on the old building for another 5 years, and you have been there for more than 4 years. So it's about 11 years that you all have been working on that hospital, and you could not have delivered that hospital. You know, but let us listen further as Philippe J. Pierre gives his word. At this point, one has to wonder, I'm saying he's giving his word, and you, those of you who've been following what is going on in the politics of St. Lucia, probably asking the question, what is Philippe Pierre's word worth? Is it worth anything? Let us see. Clip number 3, please.
But we're going to show the public of St. Lucia, and we're going to go back to the original site. We are starting tomorrow. I'm not going to give you the end dates, but hopefully the people of the South will be out of the desperate situation at the stadium. You have my word for it.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you my word. Now that the cover-up with the blatant lies come in, now you're going to hear it coming in. At times, Philippe J. Pierre goes solo, but from time to time, he recruits one of his colleagues to be part of the act with him. You know, and on this occasion, he has chosen one who has proven to be equally skilled in the act of telling lies. So let us listen to his chosen colleague on the subject, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, and you decide when we're done with clip number 4.
In pursuit of a truly functional national healthcare system, we will complete and commission St. Jude Hospital within 1 year. We will complete and commission St. Jude Hospital within 1 year.
I just want to tell you that St. Jude as a building is fine. St. Jude as a hospital has to get commissioned. So our promise is to give you the building. He said so.
We will complete and commission St. Jude Hospital within 1 year. We will complete and commission St. Jude Hospital within 1 year.
You know, even that, if that wasn't real, it would be funny. Honestly, it would. You know, we promise you the St. Jude's building, not the hospital. And that building is for what, sir? What warehouse? You know? You did promise us the building. And as Emma said, your government promised that we would get the building in 1 year. Okay? So, by my maths, it is over 4 years. And now you're coming with the excuse that what you promised was the building. No, what you promised was the St. Jude's Hospital, completed and commissioned, as Emma Hippolyte indicated. You know? Well, you know, of course, we would not be talking about the gouvernement mensonge, that is the St. Lucia Labour Party. You know, if you didn't, you know, so if we didn't hear for ourselves those lies, you'd ask yourself, how could somebody come about making up such? Because if this is some fictional story, they would dismiss it as being ludicrous, too unreal to even qualify as fiction. You know, so let's watch though as Philippe J. Pierre do it again. He's going to do it again, ladies and gentlemen, as he always does. Bold-faced contradiction and denial of what he actually said. Please take a listen to clip number 5.
Those of you who are peddling lies, I did not say it will finish in 2028. I said the loan will expire in 2028.
Flashback.
It's expected that the entire project, including the sports stadium, should be completed by 2028.
You know, I'm actually tired of doing this. showing the man saying one thing, boldface, blatantly denying that he said so. And we have on your record where we can prove that that is what you said. And you know what was worse in this clip here? The liar actually accuses others of what he is guilty of. He called other people liars. You know, sometimes the truth slips out amidst all the lies and the reality is inadvertently revealed. And that is what happened there. In that same lie, reality was revealed. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the fact is, the people of the South would never go into to have a completed and commissioned St. Jude during the term of office of the St. Lucia Labour Party under Philip J. Pierre. Okay? And Philip J. Pierre knows that. So it slipped. I don't know if that's what they call a Freudian slip, but it slipped. So if we are to rely on the St. Lucia Labour Party government, St. Jude would not be completed before 2028. Another 2 years, or in fact more than 2 years from now. So thankfully, St. Lucians will not have to endure that agony. The intervening general elections, ladies and gentlemen, that is due on December 1st, will bring the saving grace with the advent of a UWP government with Alan Michael Chastanet at the helm, who is demonstratedly pro-South. And I can say that because of the amount of work and plans that he has for the south of the island. Yes, I mentioned Alan Michael Chastanet. What do you say, Richard Frederick El Quapo? What say you? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure once I mention Alan Chastanet, you're curious and interested to know what it is Richard Frederick would have to say. Let's go to clip number 6. Let us now hear what Richard Frederick has to say on this whole St. Jude's saga.
Mr. Philip J. Pierre, I'm putting you on notice. Should the hospital not be completed during our term, I will no longer run for elections. Okay? Should the hospital not be completed within our term, I will not contest the next general elections.
Okay. You just heard the shameless El Quapo. Okay? He will not contest the general election if St. Jude's is not. Well, guess what, Richard? St. Jude's is not completed and commissioned. St. Jude Hospital is not. According to your Prime Minister, all you have is a building. I don't know if it is a warehouse, a dance hall, what it is, but it is not a hospital. So, make good on your words. I suspect that you, realizing the tide is against you, you were making some provisional statements so that you can find an easy excuse to duck. And that is exactly what you're doing. In case you realize with the advent of Stanley Felix coming in, who is going to take the majority of the SLP votes because they are SLP, Stanley is SLP, you are a Nowherean, expelled by UWP, not wanted by the SLP because they have refused your membership, even when you publicly begged for you to be accepted. They just do not know. In fact, let's put it as it is. The Prime Minister is afraid of you, and he cannot face you and say to you that he does not want you on his team anymore. He made a deal with you, and he feels obligated, he feels obliged to honor that deal because he fears what we all know will happen. You will turn your guns on him, and he will face an onslaught from you. He is afraid of that, so as a result, he's tolerating you. But his party has made it clear, in no uncertain term, you are persona non grata, just like you will be after the 1st of December. In fact, you are already, because the House has been dissolved. The House has been dissolved for the impending general elections on December 1st. So you are no longer a minister of government. You are now, Richard Frederick, persona non grata in the United States of America. And so, you came with this thing in case they had just run you out completely and put Stanley Boldface as their candidate. you had a provisional excuse that they didn't finish St. Jude, so you're leaving. But you can still leave. You don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed. If you're a man of your word, leave, because St. Jude Hospital is not completed or commissioned. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this, before I end my SLP, there's one more reminder that I have to give you. And I want to remind Philip J. Pierre that what he wants to change into a success story, the disaster, the failure of St. Jude's under the SLP, what he wants to now whitewash and make look like a swan. We all know what the reality is. You have not completed St. Jude as you promised. St. Jude's is not completed and commissioned as your government promise would have been done in 1 year. And what is worse, you made statements about the healthcare situation. That's what you're concerned about. That's the point you have to prove. Well, guess what point you prove? 1, in more than 4 years, you could not finish the hospital. And 2, you made our healthcare situation worse than it ever was before. You know? And so, I just want to remind you of what was said by the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association a couple of years ago in a letter expressing their concerns about what is happening at the St. Jude's Hospital. And what they said, and that is a copy of the letter, okay? I do not know if I can read from this distance, you know, but it was said that, I cannot read it from this distance, sorry, but what in effect, I will paraphrase, was said by the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association that the health situation was worse than it had ever been. And they also went on to say about the disastrous conditions under which citizens of St. Lucia had to undergo poor medical attention at OKEU, not one of our top medical facility. So that is the reality of your tenure when it comes to health. You and your government, Philip J. Pierre, are a dismal failure when it comes to that. So all the lies, all the bluffs cannot erase the facts. Face it. And now you lied to us with impunity. But now there's nothing we could have done about it except to expose it. But after all your lies have been exposed and we now know what you and your government is made of, you are going to pay the price. Because guess what? On Sunday, you rang the bell. But guess for whom that bell tolled? You will soon find out. The people of St. Lucia now have an opportunity to do something about it. You are going to pay for that dismal failure, if only on the count of health. I'm not even talking about national security. I'm not even talking about cost of living. You are going to pay. Thank God, deliverance is nigh. We are going to get a break. And with the policies of the United Workers' Party, when it comes to health improvement, when it comes to finishing the St. Jude's Hospital, when it comes to providing for every St. Lucian a national health insurance plan that will give us $75,000 in coverage. And I'm going to touch on that later. You know, thank God. Our woes, our misery, our troubles and our pains will soon be over. We can see the light of the flambeau at the end of the tunnel. Ladies and gentlemen, that was for you SLP, Secrets, Lies and Propaganda, the modus operandi of Philip J. Pierre's St. Lucia Labour Party, what passes for government. Please stay tuned, we'll be right back.
From your communion telling lies. How much more money we have to lose? How many more people they want to fool? Where the money for the CIP? Like them fellas have a money tree.
The views of the host of this program is independent of Hot 7 TV, Kiss FM, and Hot FM Communications Limited.
For too long, St. Lucians have carried the weight of a tax that was only meant to last 2 years. The 2.5% levy has eaten into every paycheck, raised the cost of groceries, and made life harder for families already struggling. The United Workers' Party will remove it from day one. No more broken promises. That means more money in your pocket, lower prices at the store, and relief for every St. Lucia. Let's save our St. Lucia. Together, we will right that wrong.
Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
For years, families in the South have been forced to pay for dam dredging at the John Compton Dam, even though they don't receive a drop of water from it. That injustice ends when the United Workers' Party returns to office. We will remove the dam dredging fee for Southern residents, because you should never have to pay for a service you don't receive. Fairness, justice, respect for every St. Lucian, no matter where you live. Let's save our St. Lucia. Together, we will right the wrong.
Too many young St. Lucians leave school with dreams they cannot afford to chase. That ends now. The United Workers' Party will deliver free tertiary education at Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, opening doors, unlocking potential, and giving every student a fair chance to succeed. Because when our young people rise, our nation rises with them. Together we will build a smarter and stronger St. Lucia for all with free tertiary education. Save our St. Lucia. Together we will right the wrong.
In St. Lucia today, too many families face impossible choices. Medicine or groceries, treatment or tuition. Around the world, nations have already proven that national health coverage changes lives. The United Workers' Party will make it real here at home. National health insurance, $75,000 in coverage for every St. Lucian. No exception, no excuses. Because quality health care is not a privilege, it is your right. Save our St. Lucia. Together, we will right this wrong.
Too many guns are slipping into our country. Too many families live with fear. The United Workers' Party will put a stop to it. We will reintroduce strong border control and expand the K9 unit. More trained dogs, more patrols, more protection. Every weapon stopped at the border is a life saved. Every bullet intercepted is a community kept safe. This is about defending our home, protecting our children, and restoring peace to St. Lucia. Let's save our St. Lucia. Together, we will right the wrong.
From your communal telling lies. How much more money we have to lose? How many more people they want to fool? Just is the man, you pay. Where the money for the CIP? Like them fellas have a money tree. So why not voting for Labour Party? Them fellas mashing up the whole country. Tell them fellas ring the bell. Tell them man them ring the bell. Tell Labour Party ring the bell. Ring the bell. Tell them fellas ring the bell. Tell them man them ring the bell. Tell Labour Party ring the bell. Ring the bell. What they waiting for? What they waiting for? What they waiting for? You can't take the pressure no more. What they waiting for? What they waiting for? What they waiting for? You can't take the pressure no more. From the GPF to CIP, so now they playing big man. It's the highest model rate we ever get. Everywhere is big gun. The hospital they talking about well up to now it can't done. Now the time has come, then we vote Alan. No doubt my PM, he is the better man. When it comes to run the country, we voting for Alan.
Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Like It Is. Thanks for staying tuned. And in this segment, I want to just touch briefly on, as you know, we have an abbreviated show tonight because we had to listen to our interim Prime Minister, the incoming Prime Minister, the Honorable Michael Chasney, Alan Michael Chasney, as he addressed the nation tonight. And I must say, let's just touch a little on it. I do not want to burden you with what you have just listened to a little while ago. But it is very inspiring, I must say. You know, we can see that the gentleman is prime ministerial, and he is offering hope and inspiration to a country that needs it badly at this point in time. So, apart from some of his plans, I am happy to see that the Honorable Alan Chasney recognizes the fact that government is continuous. So after an election, if there is a change of government, you cannot just arbitrarily come in and stop everything, whether or not they were progressive, and just halt anything and reverse things and put a country in reverse, rather than continue what has been established, what is good, and avoid wasting resources. So when Honorable Alan Chasney said that he would, in fact, honor some of the promises made by the outgoing government, I was relieved and happy to hear that. And I think that shows a level of political maturity on his part. A gentleman who certainly understands what it is to have stability and what it is to honor, you know, commitments that have been made, even though you were not the last government, unless, of course, it is something outrageous like what we did with our ports, GPH. I mean, I expect the UWP government to immediately try to renegotiate that situation, you know, and the atrocities that were taking place in our CIP program. But when the current government promised that they were going to give a bonus, for example, to public servants, he said he would honor it. However, so those kinds of promises according to him, will be done in a more structured, more institutionalized way, not merely as a vote-catching gimmick, not merely as a partisan political ploy, okay, for the benefit of a party to gain votes. And so I salute you and I applaud you for that. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's not pretend that the subject, the real subject, is on our mind. It is on everyone's mind, and certainly it is on the agenda of Like It Is tonight. I am talking about the dating of election. So, the outgoing Prime Minister Philippe J. Pierre, has rung the bell, and in so doing, announced the date of our next general election. As you know by now, ladies and gentlemen, D-Day is 1st December, about roughly 20 days from now. 3 weeks of electioneering and campaigning in earnest before we have a change of government. D-Day. And when I say D-Day, I'm talking about the day of deliverance. When I say D-Day, I'm talking about the day Philippe Pierre and the SLP departs. When I talk about D-Day, I'm talking about that day when we, St. Lucians, will get a reprieve from high prices, from rampant crime, especially homicides in this country, or we'll get a reprieve from the atrocious healthcare situation that exists and the frightening cost of healthcare and treatment that is beyond most of us, causing us to have to resort to GoFundMe and charitable fundraising events. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity for an early Christmas on December 1st, and another very Merry Christmas again on December the 25th. So, 2 major SOS events in 1 month. Just as the birth of Christ, ladies and gentlemen, on the 25th of December, he was born to deliver us from our sins and to SOS, that is, to save our souls. So too, the general elections of 1st December will give us the chance to be delivered from the clutches of the SLP and another SOS moment to save our St. Lucia. So, for the SLPs, with all their affluence and extravagance, never mind the shortages at our hospitals and the suffering of the poor due to exorbitant cost of living, it is the shameless practice of buying attendance at their rallies, as we saw in the 4 or so lunches that they had and the meeting on the market step yesterday. So the UWP had a much anticipated meeting, and people predicted that the election would be called. So many people, out of curiosity, went there. Others, out of, getting a blight, passed some money, chicken and rum, a little payment for being there. They turned up. So that was a bought crowd. The UWP, on the other hand, however, are attracting genuine, purpose-driven multitudes with far less resources, but a lot more genuinity, or if you prefer, genuineness. Whom we know, ladies and gentlemen, are part of a mission to save our St. Lucia. Again, I must compliment the UWP for putting together a remarkable, formidable team of men and women that is unmatched, an unmatched slate of candidates that fosters hope and will bring sanity and decency back to governance in St. Lucia. I must express gratitude and appreciation, however, to those of you ordinary St. Lucians, who kept the fire lit and continuously fought that battle against the wrongs that needed to be made right in this country, the wrongs of the SLP government, and there were many of them during the course of their tenure in office. Thanks to the opposition United Workers' Party and the leader of the opposition, Alan Chastanet, who were vigilant throughout and exposed the relevant issues. That kept the government in check. Just imagine, had the opposition not been as vigilant, how many more atrocities would have been committed by the St. Lucia Labour Party, as if all what they did was not enough. Your efforts will be rewarded, ladies and gentlemen. Your efforts will be rewarded by the people of St. Lucia. Well, I'm talking to the UWP now. Your efforts, that is the opposition, will be rewarded by the people of St. Lucia, because God alone knows how much worse, as I said, it could have been with a prime minister like Philippe J. Pierre and a cabinet including the likes of Richard Frederick, Ernest Hilaire, and Kenson Cassidy. Ladies and gentlemen, these individuals, those individuals I'm talking about, have run amok in your country. And God alone knows how much worse it would have been had they not been forced to call an early election, because they in fact constitutionally have up to another 11 months or so where they could have remained in government, but thank God. I think a number of factors militated against them continuing. I think they got tired of the pressure. They couldn't stand it any longer. They realized that they were being exposed more and more, and inevitably something would have to give. Of course, Ernest Hilaire would not want his case, his matter in court with Eldridge Charles to be heard, for him to be found guilty while in office, which means that he could not contest a general election with a conviction. In addition to that, all those CIP corruption claims that are over their heads, and all of those things there are many other reasons why they were forced to call an early general election. Of course, they were tired of holding their breath as well, with El Guapo, Richard Frederick, being a member of the cabinet and causing them so much embarrassment again and again. Let me just say to you, you would have realized, knowing, of course, inevitably, knowing that he would have been calling the general election, the Prime Minister ran up to New York to have a meeting with the diaspora. Now, I have a problem with that, because let me just say this. Just like Alan Shastney has to take his money or money from the UWP to go and meet his flock in the diaspora, because what he's on is party business. The St. Lucia government is not the St. Lucia Labour Party. It's not the same. There's a distinction that has to be made, and I've been saying so for a while. And this present SLP administration is blurring the lines between party and government over and over again, using government institutions and resources as part of their political campaign to regain political office for their political party, the SLP. So, what business does our consulate or our embassy in the United States, in New York rather, have to do with organizing a political meeting for the St. Lucia Labour Party? And I'm hoping that these things will be investigated after the elections, because those practices must stop. I'm hoping too that it was not public funds, local people, citizens' tax dollars that were used to pay for that entourage of the SLP party to go to New York. Because they were not on government business. Absolutely not. Okay? They were on their partisan campaign, which they have the right to do, but they are supposed to pay for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Philip J. Pierre, as political leader of the SLP, went to New York and brought with him his party chairman, Moses Jean-Baptiste Moussa. Can you tell me again, what business did Richard Frederick have there? You're not in the leadership of the St. Lucia Labour Party. As a matter of fact, leadership, you're not a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party. So the St. Lucia Labour Party is meeting with the diaspora, and you there? You see, that's the thing about, the remarkable thing about Richard Frederick. His bullying and intimidating tactics and nature gets him by a long way. Of course, that has come to an end. With the dissolution of the House and the fact that he's not returning to the House, that will end. But I'm asking myself, what are we doing with a leader that is so intimidated and so frightened by a man that he embraced and brought in his cabinet that he has to dance to the man's tunes and respond to every whim and fancy that this gentleman has? Richard Frederick recognized that this was his last chance to ever see New York. Because he, on the application of the St. Lucia government, will get a diplomatic visa for a day or two, or how long he has to stay, when it is purported that he's going on government business to facilitate his trip. But Richard Frederick, the ordinary individual that he is today, and will continue to be after the next general election, I am repeating again, is persona non grata in the United States of America, and as such, as stated by the State Department, will never get a visa in his private capacity. If you don't understand what persona non grata means, is ou pas belong. You pas vle en pays. Okay? You are not wanted, you are not recognized, you are not appreciated, you are to stay away. But his partner, Philip J. Pierre, facilitated his last political wish, and that was to see New York again. You don't know when you'll ever. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, you will never. Because you have to be in government to get a diplomatic visa. So you will not. And I know Alan Shastney will not, be nuts to go and apply for a visa for you to go back to the United States of America. But you see, these are the kind of abuses that take place in this country. And we sit by and we say nothing. But you know, you would think that the man would try to enjoy his last trip to the United States and focus on the most that he can make of it. But he up there talking nonsense about special prosecutor, trying to justify the existence of a special prosecutor. Ladies and gentlemen, St. Lucia, another massive bluff that was pulled on you. What the St. Lucia Labour Party did last election was to go on a campaign accusing people of corruption, saying how they're going to go to jail once the government is changed. And so they won the election on those bluffs. Those lies and others, they won the election. Now they had to deliver on the lies that they told. How do you deliver on a lie when the reality is what you are talking about does not exist? And so they spent money on Lindquist, giving him $30,000 a month to investigate Guy Joseph. After 4 years of your money going to waste like that, nothing, not a word. So when people started questioning what you're doing about Alan Chastanet to go to jail, Guy Joseph to go to jail, the UWPs go to jail, you all pull another bluff on them. You appointed and passed legislation to have a special prosecutor. Bogla en office pour en haut delane. The special prosecutor, I said it here before and I'm going to say it again tonight. After fiddling his fingers at a desk for all this time, earning a salary on your hard-earned tax dollars, even Labour Party spokespeople, even Labour Party mouthpieces like Yadi began to attack him and saying how useless he was. Because they expect the man to perform the impossible. That is, go and arrest people and jail people for no cause. You cannot do that in a democracy. You cannot do that in a civilized society. And so, the bluff was exposed again. And so they came to the end of a term. After a whole term, when you talk about all corruption, you accuse this one and that one, everything, you had access to all government documents. You had access to all government offices. You came up with nothing. In other words, you were exposed as the liar that you all are. You're embarrassed now. On the eve of an election, you know that will be a subject of this election. The fact that you all bluff people into making them believe things that were not true. You try again to cover your trail with another bluff. And so, they forced the special prosecutor to be activated. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just remind you that I think one of the first individuals to challenge, if you want to call it that, the special prosecutor was Peter Chico, who brought 5 cases against 5 individuals, and I may not remember all of them, but I think they included, they included Ernest Healy, Claudius Francis, the Controller of Customs, and 2 others, that he wanted them investigated by the prosecutor and, if necessary, to be prosecuted for wrongdoing. The prosecutor immediately informed Peter Chico that, Namwe, what you are presenting to me right now are cases that predated my appointment and the legislation governing my function. These things happened in 2014, 2015. That is before my time. That is out of my jurisdiction. And I challenge you, Mr. Special Prosecutor, to come and say that that's not true. And so, talking about challenge, I have a challenge to deal with in a while. And so, election is approaching. I don't know what intimidatory tactics or threat or whatever it is that they may have put over the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor has jumped into action and his office has been activated. And so they concocted a story of 14 years ago. 2011, they claim there was something fishy that took place at the constituency council level, and they were going to investigate the Vieux Fort North Constituency Council, at which time Nancy Charles was the chairperson, and of course she subsequently became a candidate of the United Workers' Party for Vieux Fort North in 2011. And according to them, mind you, between 2006 and 2011, Richard Frederick, who is now in the bosom of the St. Lucia Labour Party's government, was the Minister of Local Government. But they conveniently connived and contrived a story to suggest that the time that they were investigating, yours truly, the loudmouth host of Like It Is, who has no bricks in what he says and is unhindered and unperturbed about telling it like it is, they had to silence him and shut him up for this upcoming general election. So let us drag him in. So when Richard Frederick was fired as a minister of the United Workers' Party in September of 2011, I became, in fact, I was given the portfolio of local government between September and November when the House was dissolved for a general election. And so they are suggesting that I must be questioned. Now let me just say a few things on that. In fact, 2 police officers visited me on Monday last week and indicated to me that they were carrying out investigation about operations of the Vieux Fort North Constituency Council. I indicated to them that yes, I was minister responsible for local government, but only between September and November. And so they indicated that, in fact, the matter they were investigating would have coincided with that time period. So they proceeded to ask me questions. First of all, I sought to educate the police officers that they were out of line questioning me about the operations of a constituency council. Because while I was Minister of Local Government and constituency councils fall under the jurisdiction of the Local Government Ministry, as minister, and I will tell you, yours truly, your humble servant, diligently followed the protocols of ministerial office. I, as minister, was responsible for policy guidance and oversight at the ministry. And in fact, the permanent secretary was the accounting officer who was responsible for administration and day-to-day running of the ministry. This means that I would not have information or have any knowledge about whatever it is that they were talking about, because I had no business in the day-to-day running of the ministry, let alone the council. So I advise the officer, if you all are serious, if you all are genuine, and I respect the officers are doing their jobs, they were asked to do so, so I trust they were just carrying out their duty, and they had no malicious intentions, and they were not party to any contrived, vicious, political witch hunt. I did indicate to the police officers that I understand, and I predicted it right here on this program months ago, that that would happen. Of course, I didn't anticipate that I would have been sufficiently a thorn in the hind of the SLP that they would come at me first. But I know they would be planning to try to get at Guy Joseph, and as one of their chief mouthpieces, Sheldon Daniel, publicly proclaimed, they will do anything within their power to keep Guy Joseph out of office. Okay? They would stop at nothing. And so I would expect, and don't be surprised if they still pursue the possibility, although the window is closing on them because they're so exposed now. It is so obvious and open to everyone now what they're up to. Their tactics are so transparent. And for the first time, Labour Party is transparent, my people. For the first time. Everybody can see right through them. And so They may not, but don't be surprised if they come at Alan Chasney and they go at Guy Joseph. But before they do that, they had to silence the critic. That like it is, I'm telling, they want to stop that. I've told you all cannot stop me. Only one thing can stop me, and only one supreme being can stop me. Okay? I will not be intimidated. You all have tried that tactic. And you all will recall, ladies and gentlemen, when Richard Frederick, I think it was back in April, threatened me with a lawsuit, tried to intimidate me by asking me, telling me in fact that he's giving me 7 days to apologize and retract the statement that I made about him. And at the time, I said that he was a criminal. So he asked me. Yeah, he asked me to retract and apologize, and he was giving me 7 days to do so. I remember sometime around July, I indicated to Richard that the 7 days had passed. As a matter of fact, to date, ladies and gentlemen, up to now, we are in November. People, I don't know if you all can count for me, but if you know how many 7 days have passed, you know, you can have, I can open a church and I would have the biggest congregation. That's the number of 7 days that passed already. Richard, you cannot do jack shit. I say so. And you have failed to silence me. You cannot stop me. I will speak the truth, and I will bring the truth to light as I know it. And that you all can do nothing about. There are St. Lucians that you all intimidate. By the way, those St. Lucians who are intimidated by the St. Lucia Labour Party, you no longer have to be intimidated. They're no longer the government, and they will no longer be the government. Come out and ensure that you remove that fear, that atmosphere of fear from your environment in your country, St. Lucia. You cannot put someone in office and they use that power to intimidate you and to scare you. The abuses that you went through from Richard Frederick, ensure that not just Richard Frederick, but the entire Labour Party is sent packing so that we do not ever experience that kind of abuse of office, that kind of abuse of power in the government of St. Lucia again. And so, going back to the special prosecutor. So, they came to question me. I instructed the police officers that you all are out of order, out of line. You cannot come and ask me those questions. If you are genuine and you have a genuine case, you should be questioning the permanent secretary, you should be questioning the local government officer, and you should go and question the chairperson of the constituency council. That is if you're genuine. But there's nothing genuine about that. That is BS. That's what it is. To pull wool over people's eye, as they always have done, and it has worked for them in the past. It is not working again. And it's programs like it is, you all know, that is exposing you all, showing you all up for what you all are, exposing your lies, and I've been doing it week after week. You all realize you all have to get rid of that guy. No, you all cannot. Come in and threaten me with court action. I will shut up. You mad. You mad. I know my rights. And I will stand for my rights. And I ask other fellow St. Lucians, let us protect our rights. Your vote can decide whether you lose your democratic rights or whether you preserve your democratic rights. Vote for the SLP, and you have seen their tendencies. Abusing power, abusing office, using their position to intimidate and threaten people. Forget Richard. You heard what Ernest Hiller said? He will use the power that he has as a member of government to go after people. This is not the kind of vindictive government that we want. We cannot elect a government and then be afraid of them. St. Lucians were afraid to talk, many of us. But thank goodness there are those of us who are not afraid of the skin on our backs. And so, we dared to talk. And so, the effort to silence Spider and to get rid of Like It is on. So they're threatening to take me to court. I said to Richard Frederick, when he threatened to take me to court, politely, go to hell. Mr. Special Prosecutor, I'm saying to you and your office, likewise, you all can go to hell. This has to come to an end, and we have the opportunity to bring it to an end. When you vote St. Lucians, vote for like it is to continue. I'm just joking. When you vote, you're voting to preserve your rights as a St. Lucian, to preserve the democracy that we ought to have in this country, and to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that is enshrined in our Constitution and that we as citizens of this country are entitled to. So El Kwapo will go to New York, and like I said, instead of enjoying his last trip to New York, he's going to say to the gathering that, you know, we put the special prosecutor in place, so we did our part. The Prime Minister did his part, and we cannot do this and we cannot do that. What has to be done now is you have to bring the report to the special prosecutor. I know they have questioned two of them. They have brought one in for questioning and they questioned another. He's talking about Nancy Charles and myself. I don't know how Nancy feels about it, but I am repulsed by it, and I'm going to say to you all, I resent that attempt to intimidate me. I resent that attempt to try to instill fear in me. I resent that attempt of that disrespect that you all have shown me by thinking that you all can intimidate me. No, you can't. And I'm saying to you all, that will not work. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be afraid. When they come with their money and they try to buy your vote, because that's another approach they're using, apart from the lies and the intimidation, the fear tactics, they are going to try to buy your votes. They're going to use your own money that they extorted from you through high taxes, through imposition of 2.5% that was never meant for security and health, by causing the price of gas to be artificially high when the price of oil on the international market is low. They extorted that money from you. And the CIP money that none of us know what has become of it, they're using some of that money to try to buy your vote. I say to you, it is your money. So if you choose, take it. Eat them out. Drink them out. And when December 1st comes, vote them out. That is the treatment they deserve, and that is the treatment we have to give them. And in so doing, you will ensure that you return decency, civility, and honor to government in this country. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when Richard Frederick is going to sit there and make his claims, I want to say to Richard Frederick, be careful what you all ask for, because you all established the office of the special prosecutor. After election, there will be a special prosecutor. Let us hope that you all do not have special cases that will find itself before a real, genuine, bona fide special prosecutor and deal with you all accordingly, make you all pay for the sins that you all have committed, while you all are there judging people by your own dirty actions. Ladies and gentlemen, now I just want to say something to the police. Again, I will not call the name of the police, though I know his name. He disclosed who he was to me. But unlike Ernest Healy, who mentioned Officer Clark, okay, putting him in jeopardy by so doing, okay, and prejudicing the mind of the public against the gentleman while the gentleman was doing his job, I take it, I give the police officer the benefit of the doubt. I take it that he was doing his job, he was sent to do that, so he came to do it. And so, the police officer, I will not call his name, did one thing that I did not appreciate. Because while he said to me, I was not under investigation, when I pointed out to him that he should not be questioning me, because he was out of order to question me if he knows what the role of a minister is, he said to me, he just want to have a talk with me. It's not anything. I'm not under investigation. Just want to have a talk with me, and so on. Most of his questions, obviously, I could not answer because I was not in any position to answer. So he took notes of the I don't knows, and I can't remember anything like that. At one time, he asked me about something that took place 2 days before election. And I said, well, that was a ludicrous question. How could you ask me that when the House would have been dissolved. I would no longer have been minister. I would have no jurisdiction over the ministry. How you expect me to be able to answer a question like that? The officer left, apparently went to the Grosley police station, that I assume, made a print out of a document and came to me and asked me to sign it. I asked him what it was. He said, just I'm signing the conversation that we had and so on. So I asked him for a copy for myself. His response to me was that he does not owe it to me to give me a copy. I said, well, fine, I don't owe it to you to sign any document. But I said, but let me have a look at the document nonetheless. I took the document and I'm seeing he's asking me to sign a witness form. So I said, but since when did I agree to be a witness to anything, or what made me a witness to anything in the first place? Now, I did not appreciate that because I felt that I was being coerced into a trap if I did not have the presence of mind to read the document before I signed it. And that I was hoping that the police officer was not, under false pretense, trying to lure me into putting myself in a position where I would have to be party to their kangaroo court so that my name would be mentioned. And even if I know, and those who understand law know, that nothing would come out of it, well, by the time that case would have been heard, the rumors and propaganda would have been there, Spider and Nancy in court, and the assumptions and the speculations and all of that, it would have done for them the political damage that they would want done. And so I did not sign the document. And like I said, and I'm going to repeat, they can go to hell. Don't come in front of me with that nonsense again. Okay? I know my rights, and I understand what you all are doing. Like I told the police officer, I don't know if you are party to it, but if you're not, understand that I know and I understand that this is a political witch hunt that is taking place, and at this point in time, it is desperation time for the St. Lucia Labour Party, and they are trying to pull another fast one on the public of St. Lucia. Enough said. I said I wanted to talk about a challenge. You know, there are a number of things that are considered to be small things, little things to the average St. Lucian, things I don't even hear people talk about. But I give, now you know you all talk about his handling of COVID, I too. Now with the upcoming election, a lot of people talk about the SOS policies, the young people are excited, the older ones like myself are excited, and we're all talking about the NHI and all of those things. I too. But there are some little things that you all don't even study that I pay some attention to, and I'm proud of Alan Chastanet for. Do you all know, ladies and gentlemen, that Alan Chastanet and the United Workers' Party government, of which I was a part, passed legislation to ensure that any wrongdoing on the part of any public officer, including ministers of government, should not have a statute of limitation? Let me explain what that means. I can go into government tomorrow, leave government, and after 10 years they discover that I committed a crime, fraud, ball, whatever, corruption. I can be taken to task because, you know, in the laws of St. Lucia and many countries, there are certain situations when they occur. If you do not take it to court within a certain amount of time, okay, you cannot. Let's say it is 6 months. After 6 months, that is null and void. You cannot go to the court. According to the legal jargon, they say to you that the statute of limitation would have expired. Well, Alan Chastanet did that. Now, why I'm proud of that? First of all, it tells me that there's some dignity and integrity in that individual. Because if he was planning to come into government, to steal, to commit acts of corruption, and to engage in wrongdoing, he would be smart enough to know that if he does it and escapes with it, it will be there on the records forever, and whenever it is discovered, he could be held to account. That I consider to be a good thing. And so, when Alan Chastanet, the political leader of the United Workers' Party, At his massive meeting in Ancillary on Sunday, and I must say again, I was pleasantly surprised and impressed by that turnout. It tells me the United Workers' Party is on a good wicket and that they have bona fide, genuine support of the people of St. Lucia, because I know they don't have money to buy votes. So, when Alan Chastanet took to the podium, of course, interestingly, it was a celebratory atmosphere. What does that tell you? It tells you that St. Lucians could not wait. They see that as a moment of liberation. They see that as an opportunity of deliverance. They saw that as a time to exhale. And St. Lucians celebrated the announcement of election. Okay. And so, I don't know if I have the clip. Okay, I have the clip. I want to tell you what really impressed me. I have been saying for years, and let me not pretend that I'm the only one. Many St. Lucians have clamored. I've heard people like Rick Wynn lament that. I've heard also Timothy Polio lament the fact that your politicians refuse to engage in public debates so that people can question you. When I say people, obviously if they decide it's the media or some organization, whatever, will question you and ask you the tough, pertinent questions that the public, people like myself, want to hear from you. I was a politician. I know how it works. You go on a platform and you talk about what you're comfortable with. You talk about what suits you. You talk about what you choose to talk about. And you totally avoid anything that might cause you embarrassment, anything that you're uncomfortable with, or anything that might expose you. I think it is unfair to the electorate that you can have a situation where a man can go through an election campaign, go on a platform, leave out significant, salient, relevant details about himself and his life and his principles, and you end up voting for him blindly, not even knowing that is the situation. I remember saying that even on platform, that there should be mandatory debates, just like they do in the United States. And how impressed and pleased I was when Alan Chastanet stepped onto the platform, went to the podium, and among what he said, he uttered those words, "I challenge." In fact, let me not say it. You might think I'm making it up because I'm pro Alan Chastanet. Let me let you listen to Alan Chastanet for yourself. Please play that clip. Let the listeners and viewers hear for themselves.
Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, has called the date of the election on December 1st. I'm looking him in the eyes and I'm giving him one more challenge. Mr. Ex-Prime Minister, I'm waiting for the date so we can have a debate on our policies. I have been Prime Minister, you have been Prime Minister, the two of us are going to be running in this election. Let us give the people what they want and let us stand at a podium and have a debate about where we're going to take this country. That's the next date I'm looking for.
Honestly, so I know there are many of the policies that you enunciated that will have a major impact on my life, on our life, on the future of our country. But I'm telling you, I am tremendously impressed with your courage, with your audacity, and with the decision that you take to go in that direction. I'm sure there are many St. Lucians that are pleased to hear that not only are you willing, you have made it public, and you have gone beyond that to challenge your opponent. Philip J. Pierre, the ball is in your court. Be a man. Be a true leader. Yes, we want to know what plans you have for this country and what you intend to do and where you intend to take us. I suggest, we have a biased media right now, but I suggest a body of credible people be put together. Let the Chamber of Commerce step in. Let some independent, so-called, I don't know if you have that in St. Lucia anymore, bar associations, some NYC, some independent institutions in this country constitute a panel of people who will ask the questions on our behalf, and even have some members of the public come in and be allowed to ask 1 or 2 questions as well. Let those gentlemen sit on national television and radio and debate each other before the next general election to tell us where they intend to take our country. I think it should be made mandatory, not just leave it up to Alan Chastanet and Philip J. Pierre. We know Alan Chastanet is willing. Philip J. Pierre, where do you stand? Now, don't be a chicken. You have been grandstanding and talking big. Show your mettle. We want a debate between the 2 leaders of the 2 major parties. And it would even be nice if at the constituency level, you can force your candidates at that level to participate in debates at the constituency level. Of course, that would be more like town hall thing. I don't know if you can get television coverage for it and so on. But that would be great for the citizens to have an idea where you stand on various issues that are of interest and concern to them. I can imagine myself being in that hall where that debate is taking place between Marcella Johnson and Kensington Kazimi. One of the questions I will want to ask Kensington Kazimi is whether he can explain to us and give us satisfactory details as to how he came about the wealth that he has suddenly accumulated over the last 4 years. That would be one question I would want to ask, or have a media person or whoever is on the panel ask for me. So, and I know you're going to say, Spider, you spent 20 years or so in elective politics. I used to say that when I was in elective politics, and for your information, I have participated in a debate as a candidate. So, I'm not just saying it. When the time was applicable, I walked the walk. And I believe it is necessary. I believe it should be made mandatory. And I believe that is something we should institute as part of our electoral process. Don't come and just lie to people, avoid the truth, and that is a form of lying, and deal with what you want to deal with, and woodwink people with bluff and deception, and then become political appointees as ministers of government, members of cabinet, and then in the end what we get is what we got from the St. Lucia Labour Party in the last 4 years. And integrity is something that should be big when it comes to things, because if we had done that before, you all would have discovered the track record of Ernest Hilaire, and maybe you would have been able to make a wiser choice. We have, for example, this lady, Lisa Joari, whom we are being told reneged on her commitment, on her responsibility, and left somebody else carrying her bag. Is that the kind of individual you want to represent you? Are those the kind of people you want to append the title of honorable to? And so we need to do better than that. We have to come good. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I applaud Alan Chastanet for this. I wholeheartedly support it. Like it is, let me know how you feel about it and what you think about that position. Tonight, I have gone on quite a bit. We don't have much time left. We have an abbreviated program because of that address from Alan Chastanet that more than made up. I don't think there was anything I would have told you that would have been more inspiring, more informative, and more enlightening. But at this point in time, before I open the line, a good buddy of mine, requested that I plug in an effort that is being made, an effort that I support 10,000 strong. And I am going to take the opportunity now to let my fans, my listeners and viewers of Like It Is know about. I think it's important that we tell you. So, ladies and gentlemen, here goes. Flabo United has put on an event, and I just want to inform you about it. First of all, that event took place over the weekend, and Flabo United want to thank you for supporting them over the weekend. And it reads, our first Flabo United giving event was a great success. It was well attended, full of energy, and filled with excitement for the coming election. Thanks to your generosity, we met our fundraising goal. Everyone who gave, we are truly grateful. Our candidates, however, still need your continued support. The giving portal will remain open right up to election day, so you can keep contributing. Now, I'm talking about a telethon that took place on Saturday as part of a fundraising effort, because we don't have CIP money in the UWP, we don't have other blood money, we don't have corrupt money, and so we depend on our supporters, our people, to be part of the fight, to join the cause, make a contribution, as small as it is, as big as it is welcome. And so that event was put on, but it continues. While we don't have a telethon going on, you can still access www.flambeauunited.com and make your contribution via that medium. So it is www. Let me spell Flambeau to you. Those of you who might have problems spelling Flambeau. F-L-A-M-B-E-A-U. F-L-A-M-B-E-A-U, United, UNITED.com. So it is flambeauunited.com. And so remember, you have the U in Flambeau and the U in United coming together, as you have two U's. So it's www.flambeauunited. You can access that portal and make your contribution. Together, let's keep the flame burning strong. So we have to go into this election strong. We know that they will be spreading money all over the place, buying votes. We don't have to buy votes, but we need the funding to provide the necessary machinery and so on that we need to ensure that we do the work that we have to do on election day to ensure that we remove the SLP and put in a worthy government, a government of the United Workers' Party. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. And I'm saying, and that is not only for people in the diaspora, anybody, St. Lucia, whether in St. Lucia, if it is $1, if it is $100, whatever you have, contribute. Every dollar counts, and it goes a long way. Our candidates can use that to help them in the preparation and in putting in place their machinery for election day. www.flambeauunited.com. That is the portal. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to open the lines right now so that you too can have your say. You can call in and tell it like it is. The landline is telephone number 4500777. Again, 4500777. And the WhatsApp number is 284-3499. Again, 284-3499. As always, the rules are when you call my program, you have to be polite. And do not think for a moment I will allow you to take over this show. And in fact, let me not say that. I will just open the line. You conduct yourself. If you don't, I will discipline you. Ladies and gentlemen, the lines are open. That's your opportunity to tell it like it is. You can call in and have your say. But in the meantime, while we are waiting on callers, I just have to say that this coming election is a crucial election. I think it was Tommy or one of the candidates who said that this is the most consequential election in the history of St. Lucia. And I concur. Because there's a lot riding on this election. Our quality of life, ladies and gentlemen. Our survival. We have a caller online. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
Good evening, my brother Spider.
Yes, hello.
Golden Dragon here, leader of the People's Progressive.
Well, you have an ad to get the line. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so you have an ad to get the line.
My brother, you see, when you have God on your side, you get through to anything.
Yes.
And I said before that in my book, the best statesman, the best politician today is Leonard Padamont. And I will say, if tomorrow I become Prime Minister, you will be my Minister of the Public Service.
That's why I retired from elective politics, because I know it's only when you're gone you get praises.
If I become PM tomorrow, you will be the Minister of Public Service, Local Government, Information and Broadcasting, and some of it.
Okay,
let me just say, my brother, you were supposed to have been the Prime Minister when Sir John passed away.
Okay, let's leave the next Prime Minister. Who is supposed to be the next Prime Minister of St. Lucia? That's the more salient issue.
Golden Dragon of the People's Progressive Movement. And you must always say There are 4 teams.
So you're using my program to give yourself a plug. Anyway, that's okay. That's okay.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. But
thank you.
You're a great guy. Imagine, Imagine you were supposed to be Prime Minister. You were given a letter to take to the Governor General to remove Stephenson King. You know, you went to the man. When you should have brought the letter to the Governor General, you took it upon your good heart to go to the man and say, Mr. King, we want to remove you because you're so incompetent. And the man begged you and cried until you give him a chance. And you went back into the further.
Golden Dragon, I am a student of history as well, and as much as history is important, what is before us is even more important.
Yeah, but don't forget history.
So I appreciate your contribution,
yeah.
but
thank you, but history also gives us a reason to think forward.
Good.
Yeah?
So what is the thought going forward? What is the thought going forward? That's what I'm betting you to tell me. Okay. Well, we lost the Golden Dragon. You know, talking about that, I mean, we have a very important decision to make. Going forward, we have to determine who is the better person, who is best placed to lead this country. We don't want to gamble with this. We don't want to take chances with this. When you have individuals like Richard Frederick running as independent, but trying to hang on to the coattails of the St. Lucia Labour Party and so on. You know what the Labour Party is most afraid of? That there's a close call in terms of the result, and Richard Frederick is in the play. The Labour Party knows that Richard Frederick will demand that he be Prime Minister. They know that. And can you imagine the prospects of having this man? Let's not even talk about that because, you know. But we know the two likely possibilities are Philip J. Pierre and Alan Chasney. And we know, on the basis of track record, on the basis of performance, on the basis of policies and plans, Alan Chasney outclasses Philip J. Pierre night and day. We have a call on line? Yes. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution. Tell it like it is.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Yes. Hello? Go ahead.
But you have great energy when it comes to
I'm not hearing you clearly, but gentlemen, I'm not hearing the caller clearly. You know, could you say what you said again, caller? Hopefully, I'll hear you better this time.
So I say good night to you. You hear me?
I'm hearing you, not clearly, but I'm hearing you.
Oh.
Go ahead. I'll probably get the gist of what you're saying. Wow.
No, I say good night to you.
Okay, sorry about that, caller, but I'm really unable to make out what you're saying. It's a pity. I would have really loved to hear what your contribution is. Yeah.
I get no feedback.
Okay, sorry, caller. We'll have to about this call because I'm very sorry about that, but I don't know. Are you calling on WhatsApp? Yeah, on our line. Yeah, I don't know if we can improve the quality of the calls, but I would really love to hear what our callers have to say. You know, we can call in to comment on the elections that are upcoming. You know, what do you think? You heard Philip J. Pierre address the nation yesterday. You heard Alan Chasney address the nation tonight. What do you think? Yeah. Do we have a caller? Okay. So I was saying you heard an address to the nation by Philip J. Pierre last night, and tonight you heard an address to the nation, you know, and we can see where the substance lies. We can see the difference. I mean, the United Workers' Party has some remarkable policies that they have outlined for the young people. There are a few, I mean, among the impressive ones. In fact, the one that stands out to me is the one that talks about guaranteeing, you know, housing for young people by providing them with the deposit that is needed, assisting them in that way. I can only imagine if I was a young person how that would be welcomed, you know, for the general population, but in particular, as we know, when it comes to health, older people suffer more afflictions than younger people. The NHI is another, you know, policy. We have a caller? Yes, good evening, caller. I'm hoping that we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead and make your contribution. Tell it like it is.
Yeah, good night.
Yes?
Good night.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I mean, we DWP from the time of COVID, and which, I mean, COVID exists, with all what transpired, right? Yesterday, the UWP government was supposed to come out flamboyant. You know, we were building state-of-the-art hospitals, state-of-the-art infrastructure, roads. But when if the solution people cannot look on themselves right now and see, right? These guys had no natural disasters, no COVID. I mean, how flamboyant are them guys? Where is the infrastructure? So I just want to say to the solution, like, are you guys blind? Because I was talking to a friend, and, you know, we there in the diaspora, right?
Yeah.
And guys were like, oh, you guys are calling your speech, they're calling like the things. But when it comes to vote, but guess what? We there in the big city, yes. But you guys are in solution. If you can't make the change for yourself, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
I wouldn't even beg them to take money from nobody and at least to I live under the Shasta government during COVID. And I remember going up to Brazil and seeing the transformation. I didn't want to leave solution. I didn't want to leave solution. I seen the transformation. But then Philip JP and them come, lock down everything. And then it's like, after growing is like. So it's left up to them, man.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Change for themselves.
Let me ask you a question before you go. What are your views on Alan Chastain's proposition that there should be a debate between the two leaders?
Yo, I watched the whole thing last night in Ancillary. When he tell you, hold on a minute, I forgot one thing. And then I thought that was coming up. Real that. Yeah, and if you watch the clip, what did the crowd do? They went bonanza. They love it for him. Right? He mentioned that the crowd exploded. People were. But guess what? Philip JP and his government go on platform and vote. And listen, if you have too much confidence, just walk out there and tell the people what you know. What's so difficult about that? These are already running around. Because they acted that on news briefing one time. And he talked about someone. You serving the people. Don't come and say the guy was talking about someone. You're serving the people. Show the people you have the confidence.
Okay.
You have the confidence.
Caller, I don't mean to cut you off, but let's try to get at least one more caller before we end. We'll be running out of time. But thanks for calling and thanks for your contribution.
What I'm saying, Spider.
Yeah.
He's supposed to take on the challenge. I believe over the submission people.
I agree with you. Thanks for your contribution. Yes. Do we have another caller? Although I'm not hearing the callers clearly. But let me just wrap up. Like I said, I strongly commend Alan Chastaing for putting himself out this way because, it's... Pardon? Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, people talk about, the crowds and so on. I remember the SLP talking about in Swissdale, they had 20,000 people. Of course, we know that's a lie, and so on. But when we talk about organic crowds where we don't pay people, give them chicken and rum. The Labour Party had a rally at the Market Step for announcing the date of election. That was a special occasion where even non-Labourites out of curiosity would be present. But the UWP on that same occasion organized just a meeting in Ancillary And of course, I was impressed. And I want to show you a sample of that crowd for those of you who were not there. Because when they tell you, they will always come and tell you, like, the UWP's event flopped, there was no one anyway. Anyway, I think we can take a last call. I think we have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make a contribution.
Hello, good evening.
Go ahead.
One of the things I would like to ask is, when the United Workers' Party goes in, I hope you're already prepared for when you're going. Because if there's going to be an election and you all win that election, I hope you'll have persons in place to be put in, you know, so that it'll just roll in from one government into another. But don't be surprised, you know, if you all win. I hope you all don't just get that surprise and you're not ready yet. So please get things ready. And not only that too, there are a lot of grown-up persons who will be participating in that election. And I hope that you all are going out and seeking these people so that these people can make a contribution. One thing I need to ask, in the American election, persons were able to, or should I ask, were persons able to vote from outside of the country?
No, we don't have that in St. Lucia as yet.
No, in America, did that happen?
Yes, you can. There are absentee ballots.
They were able to vote.
In America, yes, I mean that's something that our future government can look at, but we don't have this here. Yeah.
There was a gentleman who made that suggestion this morning, and that's a very good suggestion, because a lot of persons would like to come, but some of them cannot. But it would be good that they can do it on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a
Have a good evening, and I wish everybody well.
Thank you
I
very
pray
much.
that you are successful.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Thank you, and have a good night. I just want to say, caller, that you need not worry. The caliber of men and women that are in the UWP, there are some that are young, but they have nevertheless been tried and tested, and they are people of competence, and they will hit the ground running. You know, it is no trial and error flam business that is going on there. They will hit the ground running. And of course, we are putting all machinery in place. Now, let me just say to voters out there, the Labour Party will be coming by, and that's a strategy they're using. They'll give you money, and they'll tell you if you don't vote for them, they will know. They cannot know who you vote for unless you ask for somebody to vote for you. It is secret ballot. So if you take their money, they will not know who you vote for and where you vote. So if it is your choice, take their money. Because first of all, that's an insult to think that they can buy your vote. Take the money, it's your money. Take it as money that they give back to you, that they took from you. And when you go to the ballot box, vote them out. You know, and do not be intimidated by them. They will know if you vote for them or not, or that kind of thing. And if they use any tactics to try to force you to be able to detect where you vote, it is illegal to do so. Report them. And so that is my advice to you. In the meantime, I want to ask all voters to please, all citizens of St. Lucia, please go check to see if your name is on the voters list, and find out in what polling station that you're voting. So come the 1st of December, you know that you are in fact registered, and you know exactly where it is you're supposed to go to cast your vote. And you can help those who cannot help themselves, like your neighbors or friends or family, if you have who cannot help themselves, do that for them. And encourage all the people in your circle to ensure that they are registered. Well, they should be registered by now. I think it's too late now if you're not registered already. But encourage them to check where it is they are voting, if their name is on the list, and to ensure that they go out and cast their vote. And of course, if you're going to cast your vote, do it the right way. Do it in a manner that, you know, you're showing that you're voting with a mission and a vision. And to do so, you are going to purposefully be going to right the wrong. And all of that suggests that you have to vote for the United Workers' Party. I want to thank all of you who tuned in tonight. I am hoping that you enjoyed the broadcast tonight. Next week, we will be back again with another episode of Like It Is. I want to thank all of you in the diaspora who tune in religiously. I'm hoping that the fact that we were on YouTube tonight made a difference, especially to our listeners and viewers in Canada. And I want to invite you next week, as I said, to join us once again. But remember that on Thursday, you can join us on Meet the Opposition, on Rev Up. And on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to have a massive political rally staged by the UWP at the headquarters in the Boulevard in Castries. So come one, come all, be a part of that political show of force. Come and show that you stand on the side of right and that you are part of the army prepared to right the wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you a very good evening. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
From your communal telling lies. How much more money we have to lose? How many more people that want to fool? Chesney is the man, you pay. Where the money for the CIP? Like them fellas have a money tree. So why not voting for Labour Party? Them fellas mashing up the whole country. Tell them fellas ring the bell. Tell them man them ring the bell. Tell Labour Party ring the bell.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, guests, and callers are solely their opinions and responsibility. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
Hot 7 TV is the rising star with our stunning 100% HD quality, fresh exciting programming, including a balanced professional newscast. We are now the fastest growing TV station in all time slots on cable. Additionally, over 10,000 households carry our plug and play antennas. Our